Jason McCoy.
Nelson Buller.
And we are the cast of
Put 'em on the couch.
Back for another episode. Part 2, buddy.
Part 2 of parenting. All right, so join us as we delve into the ever-evolving landscape of raising children in the 21st century. We'll confront a burning question, and that is, do parents really know best? On this episode, we're going to explore the recent surge of the parents' rights movement with its political and religious undertones and the impact it has on our educational systems. From storming school board meetings to the impassioned speeches of certain politicians, we'll uncover the origins of the anti-woke rhetoric that's capturing headlines nationwide. But we will not stop there. We'll also shine a light on the core issues that fuel the concerns, anxieties, and even paranoias of parents when it comes to topics like LGBTQ+, matters, books, and K-12 curriculum. To gain deeper insights, we have a special guest, a seasoned school counselor from North Carolina who will guide us through the world of social and emotional learning. We'll explore what it is, its relevance to education, and how it impacts both teachers and students. And we'll try to understand the underlying fears that parents have expressing issues regarding SEL. So everybody, lay back, stretch out, as we once again put parenting on the couch.
All right. Easy. Nice job, Nelson.
Thank you.
Yeah. You always do a nice job with that. Last week, we focused on a bit of the historical context. This week, a more contemporary look at
do a little SEL. I'm really interested in talking a bit about the parental rights movement.
Father knows best.
Just some of the political, which is, what I do. I'm the poli-sci guy.
Just a quick recap. We talked about parenting from a puritanical perspective last week.
Yep.
We moved through the parents don't know best, but with the help of an expert like Dr. Benjamin Spock, leading pediatrician back in the 1900s.
I think they felt they knew good enough.
Yeah, knew good enough. Well, I think that was certainly our conclusion, is that maybe good parenting is good enough, right?
I think, I'm excited about hearing what our guest has to say on that subject. And
absolutely.
I know there was, this attitude people had last year or the year before, hey, we don't co-parent with the government, but the work that your wife does, that my wife does, the work that our school system does.
It takes a village.
In a way, it is co-parenting. It takes a village, right? Isn't that what they say?
That's what I think Hillary Clinton and maybe even Michelle Obama said. In full disclosure, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't already know, my name is Jason McCoy. I am an educator of over 25 years at both the community college and university level. I teach lots of courses in psychology with a focus on evolution, biology, and child development. Mr. Bowyer here has maybe not quite as many years in education, but he indeed has a long, storied career. But he also may be known by some of our listeners from another role that he spent several years in. Nelson, why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, I was recently diselected from the Board of Education. I served a term.
In action, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Democracy in action.
I served a term from 2018 to 2022, helped guide the school system of New Hanover County here in Wilmington, North Carolina through the highs and lows, mostly lows of the pandemic, the highs of the return to school. It was definitely an interesting 4 years, and I learned a lot.
And so you're not completely ignorant to this a seemingly new movement that we're seeing more and more of on the national media, where people are storming school boards. There's calls for books to be banned. There's a push for legislation at both the local and state levels.
If you take a listen to this clip, our meeting was actually shut down during the height of some of this unrest. This was
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh.
This was in July of 2021. This is the meeting I ran. I was the vice chair, but our chair was out of town, and the community's blood was up.
What were they upset about?
The short answer is everything, but in particular at that moment, the focus was on the slow reopening, transgender rights.
You've already seen Meet the Parents with Ben Stiller. You know what happens when a man and a woman get in a volleyball match.
We were passing a transgender sports policy that would allow our transgender youth in middle school to play on the team of the gender that they identify with.
And I think that we should actually obliterate both the male and female categories because obviously, they're the same, men and female. So we should just get rid of Title IX.
In high school, it's governed by the North Carolina High School Athletic Association,
Sure.
so there's no need for a policy.
Right.
But, we had several middle school children out of 6,000 or 7,000 who wanted to play on a different team, and we wanted to make sure that they had a policy that embraced that and allowed for them to express themselves and to be themselves.
Now, the stakes are so great in middle school, right? I mean,
Very
it's
high,
really
very high,
an audition for the national Olympics, national
The
youth
Olympic
team or Olympic team, right?
Yeah, there's always,
Wow.
if you go to any middle school game here in Wilmington, you're going to find, talent scouts, you're going to find people from the IOC, from the U.S. team looking for the next.
And I'm
Michael
sure
Phelps,
ESPN follows those
very close,
teams that
very
put plays of the
intense.
week come from our middle school.
But
That's amazing.
to be fair, right? When we parent, doesn't it always feel like it's that big?
Well, yeah, it does feel like it's that big, and that's
I mean,
where
let's briefly touch on that.
I want to talk
with
about
sports,
that
because
today.
the other thing I do, right? Obviously teach.
Drive Uber.
I drive Uber. I also umpire.
Umpire.
I umpire. I actually umpire for youth sports. Do a lot of travel ball, and I've seen in my 11 years on the field a steady decline of just basic respect. And I try to just chalk it up to Johnny's playing, Jill is playing, and this is not Game 7 of the World Series, but it's the ALCS.
The Boston Red Sox have won the pennant.
They treat it with such seriousness, and it comes out on the field, and the kids embrace it too.
Well, do you think this overzealous parenting, particularly when it comes to youth sports, is coming from a genuine place, a place of sincerity or positivity, or do you think?
Oh, I don't think it's positive, but I do think it's sincere. I know when my daughter played, we had one instance where our coach pulled the players off the field.
Wow.
And you know what it was really about? We look back on it, and man, we're yelling
Yeah.
at the excitement of 6-year-olds.
It's so easy, isn't it? From
It
an
really
evolutionary
is.
perspective. Yeah.
Because we
And
love
look,
our kids.
and that's
It's-
okay. I think we can be cheerleaders for our kids. We can
Yeah,
yell with enthusiasm.
This was different. This was different.
I do yell
remember
enthusiastically.
this was different. It was. It took on a life of its own. It started as rooting for the kids and being cheerleaders, and then it morphed into what are those little bastards on the other side doing?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. With us is our special guest. Some of you may recognize her as a friend, a community leader, an educator, my wife, and school counselor of more than 20 years, Whitney McCoy. Hi, Miss Bennett. Welcome to the podcast.
Bennett.
Miss McCoy, whatever.
Sorry. I
don't
thought we
know
had
if
been
you-
married for 10 years.
Yeah,
I
we
might
have,
be
but
wrong.
I just don't know if you want to be identified with me and this podcast.
We'll find out after.
Could you just tell the listeners what your role is now and where you work?
So I was an elementary school counselor for 22 years and have recently switched to being the middle school counselor at a kindergarten through 8th grade school.
Okay. And it's right here in Wilmington.
Yes.
Okay. SEL. Admittedly, I'm not sure what SEL means, why everyone's so upset about it. Could you just tell our audience what SEL is and why it matters?
SEL is short for social and emotional learning. And the easiest way to explain it, most people use the CASEL framework, which is the collaborative of academic and social and emotional learning.
Now, does that come from Disney?
Yes.
Okay,
No.
because that's probably the issue. Disney is a little too woke, and so we have got to sort of flip that, and so not that kind of castle.
No.
Okay.
CASEL is CASEL.
Okay.
And it's just basically a collaborative that helps us to understand how social and emotional learning works. And they break it up into a wheel there are 5 sections that include self-awareness, self-management, responsible decision-making, relationship skills, and social awareness.
Okay.
So those are the major tenets of social and emotional learning.
So we've got 5 categories for what social emotional learning is. Now, for people who are afraid of wheels and categories, can you tell us in very plain language what these 5 things really are?
They basically are just helping us to categorize and understand basic social and emotional interactions. What the goal is of social and emotional learning is to teach students not only how to do academic work, but also how to be able to work with each other and work in understand their own emotions, being able to do basic social things, working with groups, learning how to collaborate, teamwork, managing when they're angry or frustrated.
So when do you teach kids to be gay?
I don't know what you're talking about. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about what is being taught because honestly, most of these tenets that we have just defined better in recent years have been taught in schools forever.
Yeah,
and
I mean,
it's basically just.
When I hear you talking about SEL, it sounds to me sort of like character education. I'm curious as to what you think about the critics or about the people that are yelling so loudly. Do you think it would help if they thought about SEL not as an acronym, but as maybe a new spin on an old favorite?
I think that's what it is.
Oh, wow.
I don't.
Minus the religious indoctrination, of course.
Right. Because that's something that, by law, we're not allowed to teach in school.
Okay.
I think something that's important for parents to hear or understand is that our goal is not any sort of indoctrination. It is simply to be able to work together collaboratively with our students and to teach them how to do the same. You have to learn how to live and function in society. That's part of living in a community, and that's a skill. And those skills need to be taught. And that's not to say that they're not being taught in homes. I don't want to contradict families or make them feel like we're trying to do something to their children. It is more that we are just a piece of the puzzle of helping their children learn how to behave and how to thrive in a different environment than the home environment. Nice. One of the things, I think what sometimes gets misunderstood is that we basically are teaching children to have self-love and to respect their own skin, their own bodies, their own minds, but within that also understanding and respecting that other people that may not look or think or do the same things that they do deserve to be understood.
Okay. So you don't teach them that one religion is better than another.
No.
Right. You don't teach them that having one parent is better than having 2.
No.
Or that having 2 of the same sex parents is better than having opposite sex parents.
No. But we acknowledge, we have to acknowledge that families are different. They look different. They just are. And so to deny that or to act like it's not happening is not serving any of our students. We have to acknowledge that some students do have households with one mom and one dad. Some have households that have a mom and a dad and another household with another mom and dad. Sure. Some of them have 2 moms. Some of them have 2 dads. Some of them look different than, different skin colors, different. And for me, I guess as a counselor, that's the beauty of culture and community. And I want our students to be able to respect that and feel comfortable living with other people in their community who may not grow up the exact same way they do. I want everyone to know that they're welcome in our public schools.
If you think it's possible that fear about SEL and other acronyms associated with other initiatives that are in the K through 12 system might be coming from a sincere place, at least a place of maybe ignorance or lack of understanding, that parents aren't really out there just trying to drumbeat and create cudgels, like social or political or cultural cudgels. But, you know, getting back to what Nelson and I have been talking about, that, man, it is scary for parents. I mean, you're a parent. It's scary. I mean, we want the best for our kids. We want to make sure that they're safe. I mean, maybe you can just speak to the audience here about that just a second.
I, as a counselor, am very aware that parents are, or guardians,
Sure.
Are the experts on their kids. Now, having said that, I think, you know, even experts sometimes have to consult the village.
Sure.
And when something's going on with their child, sometimes it takes a village to try to figure out what's going on. And that includes teachers, counselors, sometimes mental health professionals, right, sometimes doctors, whoever that might be.
And maybe you guys are easy targets, or maybe these big scary concepts or initiatives like SEL are easy targets?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But
The school
I think
system,
the fear also lends itself to lack of trust.
Sure.
Of people like the school officials, or,
yeah,
you know, do
which
they have the best interest?
Which makes perfect sense.
Are they teaching my children what I want them to learn? I think we do have to go back to, though, public schools, and that if your children go to public schools, mm-hmm, it may not be teaching your religious or moral beliefs per se, but looking at the best interests of everyone in our
right,
community, because that's what public schools are about.
Right.
Teacher!